Welcome back to the baseball playground, and you have less than 1% chance of playing from the youth level, and you have a 4 to 5% chance of playing from the high school level. So stop being picky.
Absolutely. Stop being picky. Be somebody that wants to go play at the next level and kick some butt and make a name for yourself. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Jacob. I mean, we looked up the stuff, 15.6 million youth baseball players in America. And there's only about 1.3 million high school kids. So yeah, it's crazy. And then when you get to college, it's 40,000 college guys. Man, that's tough sledding. So I agree. Don't be picky. Let's rock and roll. Get out there and show everybody what you're made of. So
yeah, we've talked about this before about being on a D2, D3, NAIA. Like, these schools want you, but you're being picky over here. You think that you're better than all these other schools and you need to go D1.
It's, I'm sure it's every parent's dream and every kid's dream. My son went D1. It's an ego thing. Mm-hmm. It doesn't classify anything except that, there's some D1 guys that are really good. Mm-hmm. But, what I tell my kids is, you want to wear the O, or you want to wear, you want to go to a D1 school and be the groundskeeper, be a kid who does charts and make sure that everyone's, doing the uniforms and things like that. Like, that's not what you want to do. You want to go and play, or at least that's how I wanted it. I wanted to go and I wanted to play. Mm-hmm. I wasn't anywhere near the best kid in the area, but I was a hard worker and a grinder. Went D2, had a great experience, loved every minute of it, and so glad I did, because it really panned out really well for me. And yeah, can't be picky, man. Go get it. JUCO, D1, D2, D3, NAIA, anywhere. Just go play.
Yeah, and you have to be thinking about the other people that aren't even from the U.S. that you're competing with,
You're
right?
absolutely right, yeah.
You have people from the Dominican Republic, from even, in Europe, that do come over from Europe into the U.S. and play. You have all these Japanese players that are coming in now that are just, tearing up the majors, the minors. And you believe that you have the skill because you're from the Valley, because you're from New York, because you played for a club team that had a big name or something that was attached to it, where your ego just skyrocketed because you got to tell other people that you were a part of that organization.
It's one of those things that, when you get out to minor league baseball, or when you see these guys at the next level, it's worldwide. I mean, we're getting Cubans, we're getting Canadians, we're getting guys from the Netherlands, guys from Italy. I mean, they're all over the place. And the reality is, to be selfish enough to say, "Oh, I want to go D1," and not give yourself an opportunity to play. Cool. So you're a D1. You're on a D1 team, and you're at whatever school you want to call it, Pac-12, Big Ten, whatever it is, and you're the third string second baseman when you could be the first string second baseman at a D3 or a D2. Is when you leave, like, college, are you going to be like, man, I did everything I could to really get to that next level? I just feel like you're not, and that's something that, I think people regret. And I think a lot of kids do regret that.
Yeah. And on that mental note too, is like, I think that kids have to reevaluate themselves and have a self-assessment where they need to ask themselves, hey, am I really looking to play ball at the next level? Am I looking to go minors, majors after college? Or is this just college, end of the road after 4 or 5 years, and I'm done? I want to go into the workforce and so on from there. And being able to have that self-evaluation and understanding about where you want to go in the next 4 years is just vital to not only your mentality when you're playing the game, because then okay, I have 4 years left to play this game. I need to ball out.
Yeah.
And when you do go determine what school you end up, landing at, you're going to have a huge impact on that team, because you know that you're only going to be there for a certain amount of time, or you even grind harder because you want to get to the next level. And it's just about that mentality that you have going into it. And being at a lower end school, and I preach this a lot, is being a bigger fish in a smaller pond.
Absolutely.
Because if you have the opportunity to show yourself and your capabilities on the field in front of all these other people in a different league, you're going to stand out tremendously.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think that is such a great analogy to use, being that bigger fish in a small pond. You want to be, again, second guy on a D1 team when you can be a possible All-American at a D2, D3 NAIA. Doesn't make any sense to me. Go out there and take care of business, and every college player, whether they say it or not, like, they have a silent confidence or a quiet confidence, you can say, that I'm going to play pro ball. Like, that's why you're out there. That's why you're putting in the grind. That's why you're waking up at 5 a.m, getting your lift in, going to practices, doing your studies, and do these things. Baseball is an avenue to try to get, to a job, but some of those guys want that to be a pro job or a Major League Baseball job. And, it's really, really tough. And no one's going to take you or give you an opportunity at any level in the minors or independent ball or overseas at any of those professional teams if you have no stats and you have no, hey man, I am the best fungo guy you've ever seen. Like, that does not play. That does not translate.
Yeah.
So, I think a lot of people do a disservice to themselves. Go JUCO, get signed. Do what you can to get better. There's so much knowledge out there with the coaches in the areas that everywhere in the country, right? Like, there is knowledgeable baseball people all over the country. Find out who they are, trust them, and go play for those guys, because that's what is really going to be beneficial to getting you to that next level.
Yeah, and all these small organizations, they also have their own rankings within it. So, like, I know for a fact that NAIA has their own pages. We have NAIA Ball. And if any of you guys have ever heard about NAIA Ball, unfortunately, the one of the founders of that company had just passed away. However, he was able to create a page that covered all of NAIA Ball, that almost every single NAIA D2, D3, and D1 coach would actually go to for prospects within the NAIA. And that was an avenue where you could even be listed as, an all-conference player, where people would recognize you nationally as a respected ball player within NAIA. So there's so many little avenues and little niche areas that you might not be thinking about as an athlete that you can actually jump into and, see a bigger potential or a bigger upside in your name, your brand, your stats, everything, just by being able to play more at that level.
100%. I mean, the transfer portal has changed the whole world, right? It's changed the landscape of college baseball, college football, all college sports. Because if you have a great year at an NAIA, I mean, if you look at the transfer portal, I guarantee that there are people that are NAIA that moved up to D2 or went to D1 or from D2 to NAIA to play more. Like, there's so many different scenarios that can pan out, and you don't have to sit out.
Yeah.
Like, that's completely changed. Like, you used to have to sit out a year or, a semester or whatever it may be. And I think that the transfer portal for football is crazy. Like, I mean, having USC just take everybody, like, is kind of nuts. But in baseball, it's not that way. It's really a feeding ground for some of these teams that need people, right? Like, I need a first baseman. Let me go into the portal. Let me find somebody. And I think that, it says a lot about where baseball is at the college level, where, how lucky are these kids to have that? Because, if it doesn't work out at a school, like, everyone's going to say, oh, you should stick it out, right? Like, that's the old school mentality. Yeah. But the reality is, why stick it out when I can go to an NAI or D2 or D3 and play every day right away? So I'm a big believer in that. And I think, especially with the limited scholarships that are going on, it's the right move sometimes.
Starting this new segment called Confidence is King, Matt, and I want to go into the mindset that players have when they're in the box, on the mound, or just making plays in general, when they're twiddling their thumbs on the field. So Confidence is King is all about the mindset, right? And you played at a pretty high level within all these organizations and stuff. I want to dive into your mentality when you got into the box, right?
Absolutely. I mean, when I got in the box, I've told a couple kids this growing up. I was not very big, not very strong, especially as a youth or high school player. High school got into working out a little bit, and then college really, really got into working out, strength training, just to survive. But I thought I was Barry Bonds. And
Really?
yeah, I was like, I'm the Barry Bonds of the league. There's nobody better than me. If you don't throw 95, you don't come inside. And that was the mentality I came with. And I think that's why I was pretty successful as a hitter, especially in high school and in college. And I really feel that, giving kids confidence, especially as a coach now, is so important and so key to their success. As a coach, I talk about the focal points. I talk about, getting into a frame of mind where, you've seen everything. This guy can't beat you, so go in there, look for a pitch and drive something. And, I feel like our teams that I've coached have really taken over that mentality. And I think that, guys that I've talked to at the college level and, I have a bunch of kids that have played at the next level, which is great and exciting and always fun to go and watch them play. But I think that they've taken a little bit about that because if you're not confident in the box, then you're done. It's like fighting, right? I don't know if you've ever been in a fight or not, but it's one of those things that if you think you're gonna lose, you've lost. It has to be I'm gonna mess you up right now. And I think that is a mentality that not a lot of kids, especially nowadays, take. I think it has to be really taught and really enforced. And I think that's why you see those really successful kids not scared of anybody, come into the box, kids throwing however hard, who cares? It's the kids that are weak-minded and are afraid. They're not confident, obviously. And you can tell as a coach, as a player, you can see, how young were you when you see kids get in a box and you'd be like, this kid doesn't want to swing.
Yeah. Move in.
Yeah,
Move in.
absolutely.
Yep.
Right? Like, no, yeah, he's done.
Yeah.
And that still happens at the high school level.
It does.
And
college too,
and
which is crazy.
It is nuts. And it's one of those things where I truly feel that, like you said, confidence is king. If you don't have that king mentality that I'm the guy, don't worry, team. I have this. Like I'm not striking out. I'm putting the ball in play. I'm gonna do my job. It doesn't have to be a hit all the time, right? It has to be, just doing your job, bunt a guy over, move a guy, right. Hit and run, whatever's asked of you from your coach. That's the difference between a win and a loss.
Yeah.
And then you win, you're confident. You lose, not so much. So,
yep.
No, it's so vitally important.
Good. Yeah. And you touched on something that I want to dive into real quick, which is the focal points while you're in the box, right? Because you can focus on so many things. There's so many distractions when you get into the box, whether you're looking at another player on the field, but you taught me, looking at the hat, looking at the bill, looking at their nose, looking at their shoulder, looking at their arm, looking at so many focal points. But what was something for you when you got into the box that focal point was like, I'm ready to go and I'm locked in?
Yeah. As a player, I thought, again, there's nobody that can beat me. Like if I see your slider, your curveball, like I've seen it. It's a mental note. It's not going to beat me. And so I had a thing on my bat that I would always look at. And it was a Sharpie marker that I had put in that said BU. And just a B and a U, nothing too crazy. And I take a big deep breath, and that was my focal point when I was hitting. But defensively, I had a focal point too. I pick focal points that, especially defensively, or if you're a pitcher, that every field has. Like, what is stuff that every field has? They have foul lines. They have a foul pole. They might have a scoreboard. They might, the rubber, if you're a pitcher, the base, second base. So for me, it was always the right field foul pole, right? If I was playing shortstop or second base, I'd always turn around. I'd look at the right field foul pole, come back, refocus. That was my, you're okay, so what, you had an error or you were in the wrong positioning for this play, like, come make this play. And I think that really focuses you, because there's something that I don't think is taught a lot, especially at the youth level and high school level. You only have to pay attention for like 4 total minutes in a game.
Yeah.
Like, think about that, right? 4 total minutes. You play 7 innings. A pitch takes, 1.8 seconds. Let's say 1.5 seconds to get to home plate. Okay, like 2 pitches, that's 3 seconds. I mean, if you map that out in a whole game, like, it's really not that much time of you focusing. So there's a lot of distractions. There's a lot of things going on. There's parents that are, go Billy, and you're like, what the heck's going on? Or there's stuff going on in the dugout or whatever it may be. It's really knowing what your focus and where your focal points are is vital and key to your success.
Something that I really want to talk about and touch on is the actual academic side of baseball and how it goes hand in hand with the athletics, where it's scholarships, the academic money, and how kids can actually visualize or see how these things work on the back end, almost like how a business works, the back end of athletics and scholarships and stuff. So can you please break that down for me? Because I got no idea.
It's 100% a business, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no doubt about it. The reality is D1 has 11.6 scholarships. D2 has less than that. D3 has no money, right? No scholarships, only academic.
Right.
NAIA, wild, wild west. You want to get a kid, they'll get a kid. You know, however much money we got in the bank, we're getting it over to that kid if they really want you, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But D1, right, going back to that, 11.6, really tricky for a lot of coaches, right? And I think it's one of those things where we can't miss. Right? If I'm going to give a kid half a scholarship, I better be right. And so that's why you're seeing a lot of kids that, can afford the school, maybe the wealthier end of the players, or, players that, have well means,
Yeah.
You're seeing them get spots, maybe not because they're more talented than somebody else. It's because they can afford the school and they don't have to put any money towards them. Right? And I think it also, everything is based off your FAFSA, right? I don't know if you've done that, obviously.
I've done the FAFSA.
Yeah, so the FAFSA, determines how much money you'll owe to the school based off how much money your family makes and things like that. And by filling out one of those FAFSAs, you're going to see kids at certain schools that are low income because they're cheap, and they're good. Some of them are really good baseball players. If you can get a really, not I feel bad, but like if you get a low income player that's really, really good, like your team's going to be good because he's free in most cases, especially at some of the Cal States and state schools.
Yeah.
Where it's really that middle class kid that kind of gets, passed over because they can't miss on you. Like, you have to be a guy, you have to be a dude, you have to be somebody that is going to produce right away. Because if you're not, I can't give you money. I only have 11.6. I don't have much to give. And I think that is where, I think that the NCAA doesn't do a great job, because there's no reason why we shouldn't be giving more money to baseball, because I think it does generate money, especially Omaha and things like that. They have contracts and television deals. I mean, I watch SEC baseball all the time. Shout out to my cousin Mick Paul over at LSU. It's one of those things that, you can't tell me they're not making money.
Yeah.
They're making money. So, like, let's be able to spend that money and get these kids, scholarships. And I get it. D2s don't have a contract television wise, but, a lot of D2s do a lot of benefits, right? They give a lot more academic money. They give, housing, food, things like that, which really benefits their programs. And the teams that are very successful do that, and they do well at it, and they don't miss because they're getting the kids that can obviously get accepted to the school and then obviously work in to a starting role and play right away, which is awesome. D3, you're dealing with a lot of really good schools. I know a lot of the Ivy Leagues are D3, and it's tough to get into those schools academically. There's no money. There's no money there. Like, if you're D3, you're going to go, you're going to play, and you're going to try your best. And you have an opportunity to get drafted and get signed. I mean, in last year's draft, there was, I want to say 5 kids that got signed D3. And yeah, that's not a lot, but there's not that many rounds anymore.
Yeah.
It's like 20 rounds. That's nothing. It used to be 30, 50, let's get as many kids as we can out here. But, going back to it, it's one of those things that I personally, as a coach, like to send kids NAIA. If you're on the bubble of D2, D3 baseball player, I'd like to send you NAIA. It gives you a lot more flexibility. It allows you to probably play right away, get good scholarship money, and you can leave. If you do really well, you can leave.
Yeah.
I mean, if you tear it up, you're an all-conference guy, and you're a freshman, leave. Go somewhere else if you want to. You have the transfer portal. You can do it. See what's out there for you if you really want to go D1. But really, what really happens is a lot of NAIA kids fall in love with their school and their cities because they're in unique areas. I mean, you were in Sioux City, Iowa. It's a great town. Has a Hard Rock.
It has a Hard Rock.
It has a Hard Rock. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
But no, it's a great town, great city, and you're right down the street from Omaha, and it's one of those things that you have to love the game and to be in those towns and to be in those areas. And D1 is awesome and flashy, but I don't think I've met any kids that love the game more than NAIA baseball players.
Absolutely love it.
Yeah,
they live and breathe it.
They go through so much crap that other programs don't have to deal with. Like certain teams have people that pull the tarps for them. Yeah. Oh, get the guys out there and pull the tarps. Like you're pulling the tarp at the NAIA level.
We've done that before.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're dealing with everything, and you're not getting buses, you're not getting charter planes, you're not getting any of that stuff. You're getting a school bus, you're getting a van. Hey, fit 15 guys in the van and let's rock and roll. Like it's an amazing experience, and you just see the passion for baseball at those those little towns. The whole town comes out. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, speaking on that, like the school that I went to, Morningside University, it was the entire town's culture where we would have games, and like a lot of the people from the town would just show up and be like, oh yeah, the Mustangs are playing, here we go.
No, I mean, Briarcliff and Morningside, that's an epic
rivalry.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Almost got into a couple brawls, so
I'm sure,
fun,
I'm sure. That's probably why people show up.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, it's one of those things that, again, we talked about it earlier in the beginning of this episode. 40,000 college kids play baseball. Be one of those 40,000. Whether it's the JUCO, the D1, D2, D3, go somewhere where you're gonna play. Don't go somewhere where you're just gonna sit and watch, because you can do that from your house or my house.
Yeah.
Watch the SEC network or whatever games you want to watch. I mean, that's not what this is about. Play, because I tell a lot of kids this, especially at where I coach. Like, I have kids that are like, I don't know if I want to play at the next level. I'm like, you should, because at the end of the day, that's always going to be on your resume. That you playing at Morningside will always be on your resume.
Yep.
When you want to coach your kid, okay, whether it's a boy, girl, whatever it is, you're going to say, yeah, I played college baseball.
Yep.
And no one can take that away from you. Like, yeah, I played college baseball. This is what I did. I'm going to coach this team. I'm going to be a part of it and be around. And that dad who played 12-year-old baseball in Little League and is, fired up. Like, yeah, man, sorry.
Yeah, kick rocks.
Yeah,
It's my turn.
Yeah, we're gonna show you how it's really done.
Yeah. If you guys enjoyed today's episode, which I know you had to, because there was a lot of value and a lot of cool stuff that we talked about, definitely go hit that subscribe button. It helps us out a lot. Put the bell notification on so you get notified when we do release our next episode, because they do come out every single week, and there'll be more. Even more, I promise. So definitely go check out all of our other social media platforms too, so you can see all the highlights from each episode and to stay in contact with us. And then in the description below, there will be a link with our prospect portal where you can actually go and submit all your information, and we can actually review your profile on this show, give you a shout out, and give you some free exposure. Free. And I'm serious about that, guys.
Free.
F-R-E-E. Free. So definitely go check that out in the link in the description. And thank you so much for listening to the Baseball Playground. We'll see you next time.